My name's Lucy. I'm doing a thesis on pedestrian road accidents in Rome, and today I will talk you through the steps of my analysis process, the problems I've encountered, and the solutions that I found so far. The first port of call for me was the Roma Capitale open data website. I have 17 data sets available for the years from 2022 all the way back to 2006. I decided to just look at 2013 onwards. What happens when you click on one of these? You come to a page like this. I've opened it already because this website takes a while. The data is sorted out month by month, January, February, and so for each month there are quite a number of different files. I would like to sort through the accidents myself to find the pedestrian accidents. So I want one of these files where it hasn't already been split up by somebody else. And the format I would like to use is CSV, as that works very well with Python. There were 116 files. How could I get the files? I could click on each one of these, go to download and wait for that to happen. However, it was taking a really long time. How to get those files more quickly? And I came up with the solution of using Beautiful Soup. I used some code similar to this. The Beautiful Soup goes through and takes the web page where you have all of those monthly files, and then it looks for the CSV files and gets the file name and downloads the files. The code that I actually used was a little bit different to this, but just to give you an idea. This meant that I ended up with my 116 files like this, but although when I downloaded them I had put the year and the month into the file name, I kept the original file name, and so they looked messy. One of the things that I wanted to deal with was trying to get the file names neat and tidy. The file downloaded, let's just take an example. There are 37 different columns, and in this file alone there are 6,700 piece of data. I had a look at my data in Excel, and just to show you this one, which I've tidied up a little bit, here we can see there are 3 rows with this protocol number, and this is one accident. In this accident it was a car with a driver versus 2 pedestrians. One was sent to hospital but lived, one was fine. Looking through these accidents, you can see the data is quite complex and kind of messy. But one issue that I was worried about was over the years, because this is data from a span of 10 years, were the column headers always the same? Because I am going to want to stick this data together so that I have a big pot of data to analyse, and if the column headers don't agree, there's going to be a problem. I took the column headers from each of the files, and I used conditional formatting to detect anything that was a bit different, and I found that in 2019 at a certain point mid-year there was a change, and the Italian spelling longitudine got changed to longitude and latitudine got changed to latitude. So I needed to go through all of my CSV files and change the column headers. To do that, here we are in VS Code, and I have code which takes the file names, looks for that format year, month, and takes that to be the new file name, and then looks through the files again and change the Italian spelling to the English spelling for those 2 columns. Now, when I was running that code initially, I had a problem. When I first wrote this code, I was just using file path and this encoding. Then there were errors. I had to look at the Latin encoding because these files are Italian. And another issue that I had was the code wouldn't work, so it wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't change the name of the file, wouldn't even start looking at the columns. And that was because of something weird. It said there was a problem on particular rows in the file, in particular files, not in every file. Now, when I looked at the data in Excel and I looked at the particular row number, I couldn't see anything wrong. Everything's in its columns and it looked fine. However, in this case, you need to open the file in VS Code, and there you can see a lot more clearly what data is going into which column. As I hover over these, I can see exactly what is going where. Now, the issue actually turned out to be that it said 11,000 and something, and there was a comma. And so basically, what in Excel was in one column, the Python code was reading just for that row 2 columns because there was a comma in the middle. It also happened in the Das Specificare column, where the police had tried to specify better where the accident happened, and there was again a comma in the middle of the something because they'd written a sentence with a pause in it. So how did I deal with that? Altered this code and put this extra bit in, specifying that my separator is a semicolon, not a comma. Then making sure that I would double speech marks. Now, when I ran that code, I actually had a couple of errors pop up, and there was an error tokenizing the data, possibly malformed input file. Looking back at the data, here's the original data on the right hand side, here are cleaned up files. When I sorted this by dimension, I found that there were a couple of files that were really tiny, 46 kilobytes and 237 kilobytes from one of my files from 2016. So by running the code on this file, something had gone wrong. So I had to take the original file, pop it over, and then of course I manually made that change on the longitude and latitude. Now, when I look through and sort these by dimension, I just have these 2 files that have very small sizes compared to the others. Most of these are about 2,000 kilobytes, but these 2 particular months are the months when Rome was in full lockdown for COVID. So it makes sense there that there would be a lot fewer accidents than usual. In my next video, I will talk you through some more data wrangling, and I'll keep you updated with what I find.